Alright, so Nick, welcome to the second episode in the Turbo Car series where we're going to tear this apart and find out what went wrong with it. But before we do that, and I've already got it up on jack stands and everything, before I do that, I want to see if the LSD that they say is in there is actually in there. So, I would say it's there. Yeah, if you do that, you can get to do the limited slip part. Other than that, they both spin the same way. If it was an open diff, I'd spin one way and the other one would spin the other way, so woohoo! Right on. So, I guess first thing I'll do is I'll drain out some oil and probably the coolant, and then we can start tearing this apart. And I'm not going to drop the cradle and drop the engine and transmission all as one. I'm just going to take it apart slowly from the top down and from the underside up a bit, and then I'll drop it. I just want to go through it as I'm taking it apart to see what's worth keeping and what can, you know, go in the bin. So, yeah, well, let's get started. We're an 18 by 7.5 plus 45. Alright, so you remember how I said it wasn't built well? Well, I just took off the bottom flange of the exhaust where it meets the flex pipe at the bottom of their downpipe there. And this was one of the nuts holding it on. That's a normal nut. That's all cool. This was the other one. Now, if you're not familiar with Saturns, this is a factory wheel lug nut being used as an exhaust stud or exhaust bolt. Well, that looks pretty clean. I don't think this guy was apart very long ago. That head looks new. That timing chain looks new. Oh, you poor little guy. You barely got to run. Yeah, well, everything's pretty clean on the inside, despite how dirty the oil was. Alright, so today we're going to carry on with the teardown of this, and I'm going to work on tearing out all the suspension, make it a whole lot lighter, and then I think I might just drop the cradle, because unlike the SOHCs, you can't, well no, I think I'll pull the head with the intake on it, so, but we'll get the suspension out of here first. I've already got the brakes draining. My gun decided to stop working, so I couldn't suck them out like I normally do. And I already stole the steering rack out of this car for the blue car from a few episodes ago, but I didn't mention it because where I got the rack from because I hadn't revealed the car yet. So this is the rack I stole. So I'm gonna keep tearing apart all this, get it down to CV axles. I don't want to pull that one because I don't want a bunch of transmission fluid everywhere. Although I should just drain the transmission, but I probably won't. So let's get into it. Oh yeah, that about wraps it up for tearing apart this side. I'm gonna go do the other side, but you don't need to watch the same thing twice. So we'll see you when that's done. Alright, so now that all the suspension junk is out of the way, we can start tearing apart the timing side. You don't have to remove it, but with all that extra space, it just makes taking it apart easier. And since I'm taking apart the whole car anyway, it doesn't really matter. Alright, so we got the oil pan off, and yeah, there's some metally paste in the bottom. Something got chewed up, it ate something. However, the underside, there's the tie plate, so they put one of those in, that's pretty cool. But it's just as clean as the top. Like, I have a feeling I'm going to get into this thing and it's going to be clean. But so what the lower tie plate does is most of the cars from like 91 to, well, first and second gen, pretty much all the motors had a windage tray, and it just bolted on in the 6 spots to the outside of the block and then just sat there as a windage tray. And then in third gen they decided that the twin cam was going to get this tie plate, which is basically just a windage tray that ties into the mains, but it allows to add like strength through the mains by tying everything together. So it makes the bottom end of the block a lot stronger. But then they decided that the SOHC didn't need a windage tray at all. So I don't know what their deal is with that, but that's just what I've seen from tearing apart, you know, a dozen of these motors so far. And third gen's got these tie plates, which of course, if you want to make power, you want to find one of these things so that you can shove it into any motor. It'll fit on anything. It's got a bit of a weird install to it, but and you need a special tool, or you can modify a socket, really, a deep socket to do it. But yeah, let's get that off, and then we should be able to figure out which one of these is knocking when we get this thing out of the way. Alright, tie plate's off. Looks like pretty much the exact same thing from a few episodes in the old lady's car there, except these are first gen rods, and they were running those. And I reached up. Oh. Let's see. I don't think number 1 was bad. Nope. Number 2. Nope. Number 3. Oh, number 3's got some wiggle to her. I believe it's number 3. Yeah. There we go. That's the rod knock. And number 4 feels okay. We'll still pull them all apart, but holy crap, this thing was clean. I wonder how long it ran before this happened. If by odd chance the guys who built this thing are end up watching this, get a hold of me here. Leave a comment or something. I want to know more about what your game plan with this car was and why you built it this way. Not that it was bad or anything, I just want to know. I am just curious. Okay, so now we got the oil pan off and we saw that the number 3 rod is knocking. The whole time I was under there, that exhaust was annoying the ever-living hell out of me. So, we're going to take a bit of a tangent away from continuing to tear down the engine, and we're going to get that exhaust out of the way because it's going to make dropping the cradle a whole lot easier in the future. But because it's so big and it's welded the whole way along with no disconnection points, I'm going to have to drop the entire rear everything, subframe, everything to get it out. So which is cool because there's some stuff back there I want, but we're gonna do that now. So we're gonna take a bit of a tangent and go and work on the rear end of this car and tear it down to nothing. And then we'll come back up front and we'll get everything here, because that's just big and bulky and in my way, and it's not flexible. I can't move it out of the way like I usually do. Alright, so now that we've got all that subframe and crap out of the way and I dragged the exhaust out, now we can go back to working on the engine and getting everything else out of the front. So that's where we'll be heading next. Alright, so now that we're back up front, we're gonna get all the bolts off the front of the timing cover that we can, and then we'll go up top and get all the rest of them, pop that, pop the head, and get everything all free. Then we'll drop the cradle and separate the what's left of the engine block, and then the transmission, and then everything's in pieces. So, get at that. Well, that has the engine out and everything, so I'm going to shut her down for today and get this all put away and clean everything up, and then we'll start tearing apart the front end there, try to get that intercooler out of there, the piping out of there, clean out anything else from under the engine bay I want, and then we'll start grabbing interior stuff out of there for after that. So, well, here we go. Oh, I can't say that. Sorry, Rich. Alright, so today's mission is to take off the front fenders, the front bumper, the headlights, the hood, I want the master cylinder with the ABS and the intercooler and the piping and the coolant and washer reservoirs, and we'll see where it takes us, but that's where we're going to start. Nice. I love it when a plan just falls apart. Alright, so now that we got our engine and transmission out, and I got myself an ABS brake master cylinder, and everything else I wanted, I do still want to grab that and this bracket here, but we'll do that at a later time. Well, I'll just do that, it doesn't really matter. What I do want to do today is I want to get the seats and the carpet out of this thing, and you can see I kind of already got rid of a lot of the stuff that was in here. I still got to figure out how to get rid of that, or get that out of here yet. I got the steering wheel off, but that hub is on there something fierce. It doesn't want to go off. I'm gonna need to go get a puller. I don't know what happened to mine. I either broke it and forgot or misplaced it. So I'll have to go get a puller. And yeah, that's pretty much what I want to do. Get the interior, the carpet, seats, front and rear seats out. And then I'll come back and I'll get a puller, I'll tackle that, and I'll try to figure out how to get the ECU out of this glove box here. I'm still not even sure if I'm going to use it, but I'd feel bad sending it with the car to the wrecking yard, you know. I don't know. I really don't know. And then we'll get to pulling all the exterior panels off of this car, because you know, if something happens to my green one or the wife's black one, we can always have one of these red ones painted to match those cars, and away we go. These panels are hard to find these days, and you don't really want to get rid of ones you might possibly need in the future. So yeah, well, we'll get set up and start tearing out these seats and get on with it. If you're ever taking off that rear corner panel, this top one here, and you've got that slid out, and you've got all those bolts out and done, and you're still wondering why it feels like there's a bolt, because there is. When you open your door and you see this little rubber one, that's the screw. Just shove your Torx right into that hole. It doesn't look like it's there, but you shove it in, you'll eventually feel it click, and then give her, and then that'll be the one that you're probably missing. Alright, at this point I don't know what these springs are anymore. They look like they've been blue, yellow, rust, maybe black at one point. Alright guys, so I pretty much got this car completely stripped. There's just a few more odds and ends I still got to grab. The hub and the the piggyback ECU with its wiring, the doors, the hood, the trunk lid. But other than that, it's pretty much as barren as I'm going to leave it. I might take the filler cap. Oh, I got to take the gas tank too, just because they won't take the car if it still has a tank in it. So I'm probably just going to end the video here. It's getting pretty long, and I know a lot of it was a speed run, and it was starting to get very reminiscent of the video where I tore down the silver car. So it's really all the same in all these cars, so I don't really need to show that again. It was, I guess now you saw a bit of what the differences with a coupe are, but from here on out, the differences, there aren't any, other than this thing being modified by previous owners, which makes it different from all of them anyway. So I'm gonna end it here, and if you made it through, congratulations, thumbs up to you. If you didn't, that's okay, but then again, you wouldn't hear me say this in the first place because you already clicked away, and I don't blame you. So anyway, we'll see you in the next one when we start actually taking what we had here and start working with it and try to build that one. Although I'm running out of season, so some of this might be like engine building or transmission stuff in the basement over winter. Who knows? But I'm gonna try to get this interior stuff we took out into there this year. So that'll probably be the next video. Tear out that interior, swap in what was in here, the carpet and the seats, into that one. Because green on brown is gross, but green on black isn't too bad. So then I just need to find a black dash and a black console, and that'll be kind of the way I want it. But anyway, we'll see you in the next one when we start doing that kind of stuff.